Hey everybody, it's the Liberty CVB and we are here in our kitchen again for our video series event, Southern Cooks. And today we're here with Kim McGlothlin. She is Liberty County's CFO. Today she's going to be cooking pecan pralines. So Kim, if you'll go ahead and tell us what you're going to do today.
Okay, pralines, one of my very favorite. Anybody who has a sweet tooth loves these. Special ingredient, and I know everybody makes pralines a little bit different, but I think one of the things that makes these so good is they're made with buttermilk. And it just really, I usually don't use this, but we're improvising. Let me grab the buttermilk. But the buttermilk really does something, because I've seen other recipes that use like brown sugar or, you know, other things like this, but whole buttermilk is wonderful.
And how much sugar did we just put in there?
I put 2 cups of sugar in there to 1 cup of buttermilk. Okay.
Where did this recipe come from?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. And I wish I could say something sweet like, oh, it was my grandmother's recipe. Actually, this recipe, that was 1 cup of buttermilk. This recipe actually came from the mother of my first true love. Isn't that special? I know it is, but we're not going to tell that story today. 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay.
And since this isn't really a measuring spoon, just stir that and dissolve it.
And that's sugar, buttermilk, and baking soda.
And baking soda. I mean, it's great. And once we boil this and we get it to the softball stage, which is always the tricky part, we'll take it off the heat. We'll add the pecans and a tablespoon of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla. So this is what I call the labor of love now. This is like any fudge or any candy. It's just hurry up, stir, and wait. So I turn it on. I usually turn it on about medium-high to get it started. And then when it boils, you'll see right now it's just white and it's very small. But you want to make sure you get a pot big enough, because the baking soda is going to react and it's going to bubble up.
Make it expand.
Make it expand, and it'll go back down and turn a real pretty color. So, you know, Amanda was asking me kind of like what I was going to do and this and on. I told her I'm celebrating the pecan, you know. And I told her I would come with fun facts about the pecan. And right now, Georgia is the highest producing pecan state in our nation. And the U.S. produces 80% of the world's pecan crop.
Huh.
Did you know that?
I didn't know
It's
that.
wonderful. It's a wonderful food. 1 acre of pecan trees produces about 1,000 pounds of pecans.
Wow.
And I specifically asked Amanda not to buy the pecans because I was kind of picky about the pecans. Whenever I make candy or pralines, I use what they call candy quality pecans, which are pretty little plump, smaller. You know, they're not the dried out things, but and I went ahead when I was at home and I toasted these a little bit. You don't have to toast them, but I toast them just a little bit in the oven, just to bring out a little bit more flavor. But you certainly don't have to.
The pecans have oils in them, right?
Yes,
So bring that oil to
and
the
you can
surface.
smell it too when you start toasting them a little bit. But these have been kept in the freezer since last year. Pecan crops come in from like mid to late fall to early winter. That's the season. And I get these from a pecan farm, and I usually get, I'm ashamed to say, I usually get about 20 pounds, and I buy them straight from the farmer, and I put them in my freezer. And they last, as long as you seal them and airtight, they last for a long time. And you can even take them out of the freezer and put them back in the freezer, and it doesn't affect their taste. You know how sometimes when you freeze something and you take it out, and it doesn't affect it. You see how this is already starting to boil a little bit. Starting to.
So when you toasted them, you just did like 350?
I did. I just put them on a cookie sheet and stuck them in the oven at 350 for until I smelled them, and I kind
Okay.
of shook them around a
Yeah.
couple of times. And again, a lot of people don't do it, and it's not necessary, but I do. What else was I going to tell you about pecans? If there was anything else. Actually, pecans, Georgia, when the pecan was kind of introduced to the Atlantic coast, it was introduced by the fur traders when the European settlers came over here. And they actually brought it from Illinois. And the Native Americans in the Southwest, it was one of their staples.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Georgia, the Georgia farmers and the Georgia landowners were very reluctant to actually start marketing and producing this as an agricultural crop. And it wasn't until 1950 that Georgia actually became the highest producing pecan state. But it was in the, I want to say mid 1800s when they actually started, introducing that as one of their agricultural crops. So I love the pecan.
Yes.
I have other wonderful pecan recipes that I usually do at holidays.
But what is this one for?
This is a holiday, but this is an everyday. This is anytime you want to make somebody feel special, because a lot of times people don't make fudge and candy for themselves.
Yeah.
They just don't, because they eat it all, like I do. So if you make it and give it away as a gift, it's so wonderful, because then everybody can share it, and then you don't eat a whole batch of pralines. Definitely not for the person who's dieting or, can't take all that sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing but butter and fat and sugar.
Yummy goodness.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what else I do. Pecans, I do those sunshine bars. I know you've had those.
Yeah,
And those
they're
have like a
good.
pecan crust.
Pecan pie.
I love pecan pie. I love my whiskey balls are made with
Those are very good.
ground pecans. So yeah, I'm all about the pecan.
So it's not really boiling.
No, not yet. I'm wondering if we got it on a large burner. I just turned it up.
Yeah. This
You'll
oven's
see it when
a
it
little
actually
slow.
starts boiling. But start to finish, I have on an occasion, like when I'll know somebody needs something to kind of cheer them up, or if there's something special, I'll run home on my lunch break and do this in my lunch break. So I know the whole process can be done in an hour. So,
Wow.
And that's including drive time.
yeah, well, except I live about 2 miles from where I work. The wax paper I put out, because when we take this off and then we start stirring to get them to crystallize, when we spoon them out, we'll spoon them out on wax paper. In my opinion, the hardest thing about this is getting it to the just right consistency, the softball stage. And I'm not one for candy thermometers. I've tried to use one, and I think I got a bad one time because I had it in there and I was like, this thing, the color looks like I should be taking off, but it wasn't registering it, and I think I must have got a bad thermometer. So I just went back to the old way. Just do the water test. Get you some cold water. Doesn't have to be ice in it, but just cold water. And then when you see how big it's getting already? And when after it comes up, it'll actually go back down and it'll start getting a real pretty color. And so I've made these enough to know the color and the consistency that it should be.
Yeah, it's easily doubled in the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to just get a little sauce pot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. And you can see, and then once it gets like this, you have to keep stirring because it will stick. And every now and then you'll see kind of the thread of the caramelized color coming through. And when it starts bubbling up like this, I usually turn it down just a little bit so it doesn't get too high, but it continues to cook. But yeah, when it starts getting a color that I think should be right, I'll just drop some of this in the cold water and test it for that softball stage.
Yeah, you can see it getting thicker.
Yeah. And you know, like when you go down to Savannah Sweets, I want to say they sell these things for, I don't know, $16, $18 a pound, something crazy. Maybe even more. I don't know, might be 20. I've seen them in catalogs, you know, for over $20 a pound. And a couple years ago, when Georgia had that real bad drought, it drove the price of pecans sky high. And I know China just like started taking all of our pecans, you know, just the demand. And now, a lot of times, if you want candy quality pecans, they're as much as T-bone steak. I mean, I tell people all the time, yeah, you can get a pecans are now like $9 and $10 a pound,
Yeah.
you know, for the good ones. So
Yeah, they are expensive.
now you can start smelling that sugar.
Yes, I can smell it.
I'm telling you, when I make these like at Christmas time when we're baking and all, and I'll get up and I'll be making this, like you can smell it throughout the house. It's that fudge candy smell that's so good. Like when you walk into a fudge shop, you just know you're in a fudge shop.
Now, do your girls know how to make this?
They know.
They just prefer your mom to do
Well,
it.
I mean, why do they have to do it? Because
Yeah.
I do it. But you can see like it's just starting to turn colors, and that's why it's so important to continue to stir.
Are
and
you
not-
going to teach your new grandbaby how to make them one day?
Both of them.
Oh.
Well, yeah, my oldest granddaughter, Aliana, is 10 now. I told you that.
Yeah,
Oh.
she's the same age as
Crazy. Yes, that's right, Abe. So, yeah. But yes, she will be a baker. She'll come to Nana's house for what we call cookie weekend. And we literally spend like 3 or 4 days straight baking. Probably 10 different types of cookies, candy, fudge. And we do it for like 3 days straight, and then we put it out on the island like this. And then we get our little tins, and we just make up a bunch of tins or little plates for people, because it makes such a wonderful gift.
It
You know,
does.
it's something so special, because a lot of people don't do that for themselves. See how high this has gotten now?
It's
I
starting
think
to get.
food is a good experiential gift too. It's
It's
not
wonderful.
some tchotchke thing that sits on
No.
your counter. It's,
No, you're right, and it's a memory. You know, the smell, the taste, the event, everything. And Northerners really don't know.
yeah,
You know,
how much?
no,
Yeah, we
they're
put
like
into food.
pecans. I'm like, no, pecans. They're pralines. They're pecans.
And my grandma always makes us divinity for Christmas.
I love divinity. That's wonderful. Now that's something I haven't ever
Yeah.
made, but I make enough fudge
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of stuff to where I understand the process.
Yes. I have tried one time to make divinity, and I've decided I cannot do it. It must be a grandma thing. It's not me. I don't have patience to wait for the weather to be just right, and
I will tell you, a lot of times people when I give this recipe to people, they'll come back and they'll say, just didn't set up. And there's a couple things that would happen. One, you didn't boil it all the way to the softball stage. Or two, you did, but afterwards you didn't stir it long enough. You gave up.
yeah.
And that's what I call the labor of love, because once it hits that softball stage and you take it off, then you got to stir and stir and stir until it starts to crystallize. Because if you spoon them out too early,
I can
the-
smell it now.
yeah, can you smell it
That
now?
must be your much loved spoon as well. I have
It is
some-
my luck.
I have some of those.
It's my pot and my spoon because I know how they work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of things that my go-to things. It's funny when I go to Atlanta to visit my daughter, like I'll pack a bag of my essentials, you know, and this in a pot or a pan of some sort would be something. And you have to be careful to see how it's
Yeah,
popping.
bubbling.
It'll hit you, and it's hot.
And we have buttermilk in there, sugar, and baking soda.
Baking soda.
Baking soda.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that's what made it rise up. And now it's just gonna, now it's gonna cook to a real pretty color.
It's already turning kind of caramelly.
Yeah, it's just starting to turn. And like I said, it's very important that you continue to stir at this point so you don't scorch it.
Now, if you didn't use buttermilk, would you just use regular milk?
No, I don't think it would work. I've never tried anything but the buttermilk, So, and again, I've seen other recipes and I've heard other people talk about, they use brown sugar and evaporated milk or something like that. And I'm sure it's wonderful. How can a praline
Yeah.
of any kind not be good? But this is just the recipe that I've done for years and years.
Since your first love.
It's funny. Yes, his mother was a wonderful cook. This was one of the many things that she would make that this is the one like I just couldn't give up. This recipe I never forgot.
I think that's the neat thing with the South too. We have stories with all our food.
Oh,
Everything has a
it
story
really does.
or a memory or something.
And it's tied to it. It's so funny, you know, I told you about this cookie weekend thing, and my girls and I, and now my granddaughter, we've been doing it ever since my girls were like, I think 7 and 8 years old. I mean, literally every weekend. Out of the whole time, we might have missed, I don't know, 3 years where we didn't get to, where we, you know, didn't actually do it just because of scheduling and all. But we would give these plates or these tins that were filled with 10 different types of, you know, cookies and fudge and candies and whatever we make. And the next year, it's so funny, like after a couple of years when you get one, like you know, somebody will come up and say, am I on the cookie
Am I on the
list?
list?
Am I on the list? And I have to say, yes, Susan, you're on the list. So I told Susan, she was another person, like I might have told 1 or 2 people about this. And I said, yes, watch, and I would give you a shout out, Susan. Hey, Susan, that's my shout out. But yeah, when you first talked about this, I thought you said, you know, yeah, we'll film it. So I'm thinking,
We
okay,
are filming.
if I'm, well, I know, but I was like, okay, well, if we mess up, we can just do it again. Because,
we have no
yeah,
mess-ups.
we do mess up sometimes.
Oh yeah.
The other thing about this, when you make this, and if you don't have a candy thermometer, if you happen to go past the softball stage a little bit and they happen to harden up too quick before you can get them all spooned out, I can show you a little trick to where you can finish spooning them out. Because sometimes that happens, especially when you're just measuring a little bit. You know, you see how that's gone down now? It came up and then it went back down.
And it's turning even more caramel.
Even more caramel-like.
And it smells really good too for people who
Yeah.
are just watching.
Yes, it smells incredible.
Yes, we like to do it live. And we've only had a couple of boo-boos.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't need to be another one of them.
No.
No, you
Nothing
won't.
real bad.
Okay, that isn't quite ready, okay? That is not quite ready. And, which I knew that, but I just wanted,
Yeah,
I wanted you to be able to see that isn't quite ready. Because you can't, like, gather that up and make a little soft ball out of that. When you drop it in, it should kind of just make a little soft ball when you pick it up.
Yeah, Miss Susan McCorkle fried chicken for us, and we got her a too small of a pan for her.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
Did the grease, like,
It didn't
go over?
come over, but it was pretty
It was
close.
real close.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
She was a pro though, so.
Yeah, she
She's
did
a
a good
pro.
job. And then we
Wow.
bought her like industrial sized chicken. It's the biggest chicken I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In an itty bitty pan.
Yeah, in an itty bitty pan.
Yeah.
But she did good.
Bless her, because I sure don't fry chicken.
I don't either.
I don't. I don't know what it is. Now, I fry the heck out of some shrimp. That's another one of Georgia's. You know, Georgia's known for a couple of really wonderful things. Pecans and wild Georgia shrimp. There's nothing better. Well, you know that. You had
Oh,
a
yeah.
low country boil, what, last week or the week before?
Week before.
Week before. You know, oysters and shrimp. How can you beat it? Okay, try this again.
One more time.
Okay, you see how that's starting to, like when you pick that up, it's almost there. It's almost there.
All right, tell everybody. Oh, sorry. What we're is in the pot? Sorry. Blech. What's in the pot again?
2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of buttermilk,
Okay.
and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda.
Okay.
Okay. That smells so good.
This is a serious arm workout.
We haven't even gotten to the hard part yet.
So you really deserve that.
And like I
Praline.
said, when we do this, it's a labor of love. This is where you're supposed to be able to pick it up. Okay, I think we're about there.
Best pralines in Georgia, made by Kim. Says Miss Jenna Alford.
Oh my goodness, she is watching. Good stuff. Okay.
you're just joining in, which was, I see we have a few new people, we are in the kitchen with Miss Kim McGlothlin, and she is making pralines for us today. Lillian, you're not invited. No samples. Sorry. We may have to be a little selfish today.
Yeah. There we go.
And especially because we didn't tell her to make extras.
Oh, and let me tell you something. One of my dear friends, Maria, who did come over to my house, I'm going to turn this off now, who did come over to my house, and we did this together, okay? She loves them, she made them, and they worked out fine. Well, the next time she thought she would be smart and double the recipe. This is 1 tablespoon of butter, and I know I saw vanilla around here somewhere. Let me check over here. I'm sorry. Yes, it's over here. Okay, and because Leah, you're one for really not measuring too much.
We don't measure it. Miss
I
Susan
just-
Sibley said, "Thank goodness I'm on the cookie list."
So it's a teaspoon of vanilla, a tablespoon of butter, and 2 cups of pecans.
And candy quality pecans.
Candy quality pecans are the best pecans.
And you just leave them whole.
I leave them whole.
halved, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just leave them pecan halves. I guess you could chop them up if you want. I just think they're prettier like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so now comes
The real
the
workout.
labor of love.
Oh
The
my
real
goodness, the
workout.
smell.
Yeah.
Lillian, we'll let you know if any are left. Because I'll remember this.
Tell her I said she needs to make the aprons a little wider on the bottom.
Did you hear that, Lillian?
She made the aprons for skinny girls. Apparently not the ones that make pralines. Okay, so as I'm stirring, you can kind of see it's starting to get sticky, and it's like, when you see the glossiness go away, you'll know that it's getting close to when we gotta spoon it out. You can already see it's starting to get a little less glossy, but this is the part where people end up saying, it just didn't work. And the reason why is because they didn't break a sweat.
Lillian says she'll start looking for replacement aprons. And Miss Susan says probate court has first dibs, but what is fortunate is she doesn't know where we are, so she can't come find us in our pralines. Miss Jenna wants to know, what did Maria do?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my, thank you, Jenna. So Maria thought she would be smart and double the batch. Doesn't work. You can't, you know how on cookies, you can double a batch.
Yeah.
You can't do that with this, guys. Don't double the batch. Make it 1 batch at a time. It's a labor of love.
Do you start with a clean pot every time?
I do.
Okay.
Every time.
That is a labor
Yeah.
of love.
It's a labor of love. and
See, I
that's
would have
why.
just doubled the batch and not done anything.
And so you asked me, can my girls do this? Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
But do they?
No.
No.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you see how now it's already starting to like
It's losing
more and
some
more.
of that luster.
Yes. And it's starting to, you just gotta keep going. Keep going. This is when you look around for some guy who's sitting on the couch watching TV and you say, hey, come here for a minute. Stir this while I go do something.
So you're not going to get carpal tunnel from working for the county doing
No.
making pralines.
That's right.
That smells really good.
It does smell good. Always smells good.
Sisters always get the first batch, says Kelly.
Oh, is that my sister?
Well,
Yes.
we're going to pretend to be her sister today.
That's right. Sisters in spirit.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, as they lose their luster, you see it gets a little harder.
I think I'm content to never make this. I'll just ask you.
Well, and honestly, that's why it's like, yeah, I'll give you the recipe, but I just want you to know, don't think I'm trying to trick you, because it's not the easiest thing in the world. Now some people say, "Damn the recipe," but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you know. And this is about when I turn it up sideways. And see how now when I do this, you can see it's already starting to set up. Now I just kind of, because it's not ready to scoop out. Oops, got a little jumper. It's not ready to scoop out yet, but I don't want it to get too hard too quick. So again, my labor of love. Love for the Georgia pecan, one of our wonderful crops.
There must be some love for us because you're doing this.
I am. And honestly, especially at the holiday time, I love doing this. I really do, because I love being able to feel like I gave my closest friends and family just something special, something that they just can't go buy. I mean, I guess you could, but I've had plenty of people tell me once they taste this, they prefer this over Savannah Sweets. Sorry, Savannah Sweets, I still love your pecan pralines, but okay, so I'm going down to a smaller spoon now. Now you see how those, you can't hardly see the pecans through it anymore. Okay, they're really starting to get there. So, this is where you really wish you had a friend sometimes.
Do you want help now?
Maybe. So, just gonna make sure I keep stirring and stirring. Yeah, good with those. So when I do this, sorry, you didn't see that. I'm gonna grab this other one. Okay. So you can kind of see how they're starting to set up and crystallize. Okay, and now we'll just spoon them out. They're not perfect, okay? Please don't kill yourself trying to make them like
Perfectly round.
perfectly. It is not gonna happen, okay? And they taste wonderful. And you move down this way with me over here, Leah, so I can not trip all over your else nice, pretty counter.
Oh, we just wipe this counter off.
Thank you for me.
And how long do they take to set from this point?
If you do it right, minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to leave these set, for an hour. Matter of fact, if I continue to stir it, it would be seconds. So, and the other thing that's I want to point out is when you cook them, if you cook them, the more you cook them past the softball stage, the quicker they do set up. But be careful, because you'll go from where they're just right to where they're crystallized, and then you're left with a whole batch of just rock hard stuff.
Now you said if you did go past that stage, you had a trick.
Well, and I'm going to show you the trick,
Okay.
because I'm going to need it, because this will be a little too hot. I want to get every last drop, so I'll show you what I do right at the end. Okay. And usually, depending on how many, like I said, I do 2 heaping cups of pecans. Usually, this makes about, I want to say 32 to 36 pralines, which is a lot.
It's not a lot. It's not enough.
It's a lot for
Stay away, Lily.
Okay, it's a lot for one person, because
there you go.
I'm deadly with them. I mean, you know how there's some things where you just can't eat just one. Yeah, it's funny. My daughters and I showed you the pictures of my grandbaby. Well, we went to a photo shoot, and we went down south, and it's kind of a busy weekend. But my girlfriend let us stay at her house, even though they weren't in town. And I said, I need to do something for them. I whipped up, that morning that we left, I whipped up a batch of pralines, and they weren't getting home until the next day. Well, when she came home, they found the batch of pralines, and she's like, oh my gosh, I know you were so busy. How did you have time to make pralines? And by that night, they were all gone. It was her husband, and 2 kids, and it was and then they were gone. So, you can come on around here. Yeah, this is why I love to have somebody help me, because when you're doing this with one hand, it can be done, but usually what happens is you get bigger pralines
Mm-hmm.
because you can't just scoop them out, you know, clean off the spoon like that. And wax paper, I've never used anything but the wax paper, so I've had people say, well, can you use aluminum foil? Can you use parchment? I don't know. I've always used wax, so I'm sticking with what's worked, and
That's what you know.
that's right. Okay. Now, oh, yeah, I didn't really need to do what I was going to show you I could do, but you see how some of this part right here gets a little hard? Let me show you what you can do. Sorry. And normally, like I said, what I do is you can scrape it like this, and if you add just a teeny little drop of buttermilk, and you put it back on the heat, get that. If you put it back on the heat for just a second, you can heat that back up just to the point where you can clean it out again, so you can stretch it a little bit, you know.
Sorry, Miss Charm, we didn't tell you.
Oh
for
my
a
gosh,
reason.
is that Charm? And now I know Charm has had, Charm and I go to the same church, and she's had these, so I love you, Charm.
She said she would have stayed for this because she came for lunch.
Did she really?
And we neglected to inform her that
No!
you would be here later.
Uh-huh.
Maybe
Well,
on purpose.
Tell Charm when I came in, I smelled something so delicious. And that's when you said you made
Carbonara.
carbonara. Okay, so you see how that just kind of melted that a little bit? Just enough to where you can do it all again. You can just keep stirring and it'll recrystallize again. So that's really kind of it.
Miss Charm says we're haters.
Miss Charm, you need to pay attention to the CVB Facebook page because we posted this on Wednesday.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
We posted
okay.
that we were going to be doing this on Wednesday.
Wow.
You can tell Judge to ask them all she gets the next batch.
Oh no, is that?
Yep, sorry.
That's funny. But you see how, let me show you. You see they're already setting up, so it won't be long at all. And then you'll just pull them off and they'll be fine.
Miss Charm says she loves Kim though, even though we're hating on her.
Anyway, so that's it. We'll let that sit for a minute and spoon the rest of that out. And we're done. That's it. Just let them set up for a few minutes. Let them get hard.
Do you want to tell people one more time what we put in there?
2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of buttermilk, 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder or baking soda. We brought that to a boil. We let that boil. It came up and rose back down, got a pretty color. We let it boil right to the softball stage. Took it off the heat. We added a heaping teaspoon of vanilla, tablespoon of butter, and 2 cups of pecans. I toasted the pecans, you don't have to. And then you just stir. Stir and stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. And that's it.
All right, well, we appreciate you being here, and we love all of y'all, but we're going to go hide in the closet now with our pralines. So if you do have to show up, that you can't find us.
That's where we're at.
We'll see y'all later.
And I get to lick the spoon.
Yes.
So good.
Charms.